Blah blah blah. Right. So I'm gonna ask your opinion about this as a woman in a relationship on a scale from 1 to 10. On that number scale, where do you think a couple should be at if you were to get married?
I don't understand that question at all.
All right, so 1 being the least, 10 being the most. Like, where should you guys be with one another in your relationship? Should you be like at an 8, at a 9, or at an absolute 10? Like, oh, this is the person I'm gonna spend the rest of my life with. Like, I know
10,
this.
10 being what? Like happiness level? Or
Happiness
like desire to get married?
happiness level and in love with this individual.
Oh, okay. So if I understand correctly, 10 is perfect. That's never going to happen. It's unattainable, right? And then 1 is like, why are you even together? Yeah?
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, I would say, not to be diplomatic like you, but like everyone, has different love languages. So you find the love language that like complements yours. So I would say whatever couple is just matching numbers after all of the other like moral checks, like family, finance, things like that. So like it doesn't need to be like a specific number, but like as long as you both have the same number or whatever scale you're referring to.
Well, I guess for me, it's like maybe I didn't explain this right. Is that where would you have to be with your partner on that scale for you to be like, all right, this is the person I'm gonna marry? And the reason why I bring that up, and maybe I gotta get more into it, because obviously for you, these other things are important. For other people, it's like, I don't care about the finances. Like, I love this person so much that we'll make it work. That like we'll figure it out.
Right, so the scale pertains to what?
Like, just how sure you are that you're going to spend the rest of your life with this individual.
Oh, then I mean, I would hope that both of them would have a 9. Every marriage would be 9 and 9, because again, 10 would be like, it just doesn't exist. Perfection doesn't exist. So like 9.
Okay.
Like if there was a doubt, then I think you guys should work it out before. Is that what you're asking?
Yeah, no, you're kind of within the ballpark, and I'm not gonna rebuttal this, but like, gotcha, bitch, like not at all. But
I don't get it.
I think she looks so confused, but I think it's interesting that you said that, right? Because I saw this, and I see this in a lot of on social media today in today's society. Everybody expects their relationship to be Instagram worthy or goals or what they see on social media, and they portray this thing, oh, I want to be this trad wife, or I want to be this, or man, I want to be this alpha male that leads the woman, or the woman, I want to be submissive to this man, and blah, blah, blah. And like, they have this idea of like this perfect picture of what a relationship should be. And I think the best analogy that I can give for it, and this is not just at you, just also like for the listeners, is that if we're going to use like a flame or like a campfire, I think everybody expects a roaring flame. That's what they expect. They're like, oh, my love should be passionate. Like, should be a roaring flame. We should be in love with each other. We should be willing to die for each other. Going back to our first topic, like, loyal to the end and blah, 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 right? Like, never hurt each other, all these things. But I've come to realize, like, as I've gotten older, that that's not realistic. So in any relationship, right, you're never always going to be at a 9. You're never always going to be at a 10. Sometimes you're going to be at a 1. Like, the scale
You're
fluctuates.
never always going to be any of them.
Yeah, exactly. The scale fluctuates, right? And I think what a lot of people don't realize is that at the end of the day, like, what's the most important thing is chemistry. And if for that example with the fire, it's kindling wood. Because that's what starts the flame. And then you build upon that, and then you have a roaring fire. But I think a lot of people expect that from the jump. And if their relationship doesn't reflect that in a moment, I notice a lot of people start thinking, oh, that's not my soulmate then. Oh, like, there's got to be somebody better out there for me. And it's like, sometimes you just have to put in the work. You got to put your head down and get through it. Now, I get it. There's other circumstances, obviously, like abuse. And that I'm not saying stay there, like leave. But if you're having a hard time in a relationship, or like was just a communication thing, or just having like a difficulty with one another. I think like you had to put in that work. It's not always going to be at a high point, and I just noticed that in relationships where nowadays like a lot of people expect that. So when they have this analogy, they see themselves comparing to social media, they think it's always going to be like on a highlight. Like I see this all the time, like these women who on these like balloon pop shows or whatever, they'll say stuff, and to me it's like interesting because I'm just like I don't know what world they live in. I spoke to, I'm bringing it back, my best friend Emmanuel about it. Like the typical thing is like, oh, they want a guy that's like 6 foot, right? 6-pack abs, like 6-inch dick, fucking 6 figures, of like money, right? Like all that, like the 66666 like things, right? And they want this guy to be established, well off, handsome, young, have all the time in the world for them. And to me, I'm just like, you realize that individual does not exist, right? Because if this person has all this money, he doesn't have all this time. And if he's that good looking, then you're not the only one going for him. So it's almost like you created this imaginary character that doesn't exist. And now you're like, if nobody meets that, I'll never settle. And I'm not saying that you should, but it's to my point where it's that, like, everybody wants this perfect thing. And it's like, none of us are perfect. Like, we're gonna have to put in work. We're gonna have to put in time to it. But that doesn't mean that it's not worth it. So my point to it, I just kind of got me thinking of it, because when you're talking about those two robots and that relationship, they're like, oh, like our love will transcend it. And it's like, sometimes people say things and they don't really know like what they mean, what that actually means for those things to actually like come to fruition. Like, oh, our love will like be eternal. And it's like, yeah, you may have to die for that to happen in a version of you that is not particularly you.
Is that what brought this up?
Yeah.
Interesting.
Because like I was thinking about it and I was just like, man, it's like, and she brought him back because she loved this person so much. And then think about it, the robot loved her so much that he killed her in order to have another version of her. And it kind of got me thinking, like, in today's society, I see this all the time, and it's just like unrealistic. I mean, look, I'm gonna swing the sword on both sides. I don't want to just say women have this imaginary figure too. There are these men, like these fucking fat bastards who don't work, are like emotionally immature. They know how to control themselves. All they do is play video games. They don't contribute anything to society, and they think that, I don't fucking know, Megan Fox is gonna come knocking on their door, like, hey, I want to suck your dick. And it's just like, what? Like, who are you? Like, what did you do to put yourself in that place to like even be in the realm of being considered for that? Like, and that's just me being like realistic, you know. And I think people need to be like, I get it. In love, there needs to be some things where, you gotta have faith and you gotta have hope, and yeah, you don't have to always be realistic, because love can get you to some places that nowhere else can. But I think to a certain extent, you have to take self-accountability. And I think a lot of people live in this fantasy and just say things without actually knowing what it actually means to like fulfill those things and go to that level. And I just noticed a lot of people now, the second things get hard, they quit.
For sure. I also want to point out something very controversial, but also very true.
Mm-hmm. Sorry if that was like crazy for y'all. Alexa goes on crazy tangent. That was my moment, right?
That's true. I just didn't know how you got there, and then I was like, all right. No, but to your point, kind of, we forget or never knew that like marrying for love is a luxury. That shit used to not happen. And I want to just leave that there and maybe make a whole other podcast about that alone. But like all of this gender war and like people quitting as soon as something gets tough, like we're very lucky to even have the ability to marry for love. Just like keep that in mind when you're like, I get bitches, or my body count, blah blah, like this dating apps that, like, they used to do arranged marriages. We used to only try to like give our kids away as bargaining chips. Like, anyway, again, another podcast for another time, but like, don't take that for granted. So next time you're like fighting with your like significant other or whatever, like you're thinking about getting engaged, like, you're so blessed to be in a place where you're even able to even think about marrying someone that you chose.
No, that's facts. The way you put that, no, it's true. Like the fact that you even have the ability to have that choice is a blessing. Like realize that. Like if you want to extrapolate that even further, right? Not to make it about this, but like think about people not just in America, but in many different places of the world where they were slaves, and now you're able to like call an Uber like on your phone. Like you have so much freedom and choice, and like realize like what a blessing it is to have the freedom that you have. I get it. There's still advancements we need to make, but I see people cry about so much stuff. I'm like, yo, do you know what it was like? 1,000 years ago? Like, you would have been dead already.
Yeah. Well, it's really easy to, like, you know, be, like, for want and then forget what you already have. Like, even me, like, I do that all the time. We take everything for granted that we have exposure to.
I mean, that's always, like, not to get too biblical, but that's our whole journey and relationship with God, right? It's like that.
Precisely.
Yeah, going back and forth. Like, God can work on our lives. We can see what God does. And then literally, like, in 2 weeks, we forget it when we come through another struggle. Like, oh, God, why do you hate me so much? And it's like, I just showed you who I was, like, 2 weeks ago.
Interesting. You know? Well.
Sorry.
I mean, cool. You guys let us know what you think in the comments. Don't forget to follow us on IG as well.
And you guys let us know, did you like this episode? I know it bounced around or reverted back to past topics.
Yeah, even though we didn't talk about rap and hip hop, like
and it got like a little personal for some of us.
A little,
you know, and maybe I'll tell you right now, I didn't go as deep as I could. I kept the surface level, but you know, Alexi even got a little personal. You know, and Alexi never really gets personal, so that's kind of crazy.
What was personal?
Well, don't worry, guys. You heard it in the episode. I'll talk to her about it off air. No need to like get back into it and dissect it further. But
anyways,
yeah, let's know if you like this.
Thank you so much for clicking that play button. Follow me on IG at Alexia_Lou, and of course at TikTok at Asexia.
And you can find me and all my stuff at thisisceo.com. You can find my YouTube there, my IG. That's my website. We'll take you to the links to all my music, which is on Apple and Spotify. The other services. Yeah, sorry, I'm like drawing a blank.
But if anything, please let me know in the comments if you would upload your consciousness or your memories into an AI and try to live forever, and why.
That. Also, let us know, how do you define loyalty for yourself and in your friendships?
Catch you guys next time. Bye.
Arrivederci.